Today's date is Wednesday, July 12th, 2017. And today we got to talk about Donald J. Trump Jr.'s emails. Yes. Now, this story is very big all over the internets, all over the late night talk shows. They're going into a frenzy. It's a whole big kerfuffle, big brouhaha that's been going on because the mainstream media and late night talk shows have been basically looking for any kind of kernel of evidence as it relates to Donald J. Trump and the Russia collusion story. They've been milking it for months and months and months. It's been good for ratings. It's been good for their brand as a network, as a late night talk show, from the anti-Trumpers, from the liberal butthurt people. It's been good for them. But at the end of the day, they've not been able to really find any kind of hardcore physical evidence. Now they think they have evidence. Now, what I'm talking about is Trump Jr. was in communication with a person that had Russia connections, a lawyer, and there was going to be some information revealed about Hillary Clinton that could be potentially damaging. Now, what Trump Jr. did was release all of the email chains between him and this person that is in question. And after that, the media went into an uproar because of some of the lines that were in the actual emails. They were saying, oh, well, you were trying to collude with the Russians. You were trying to collude with the Russian government, this, that, and the third. Now, before we go down the rabbit hole of explaining what's going on further and give you my reaction, what I want to do is play a clip from Hannity. Now, in Hannity, he's going to show you the emails and he's going to talk about what's going on. He'll also talk about what the Democrat Party did as it relates to the same thing that is being talked about in these emails between Trump Jr. and the other individual. So we'll watch that. We'll come back. We'll talk about it. And without further ado, go ahead and roll it.
All right, so earlier today, after the New York Times started reporting on the content of email exchanges prior to this meeting at Trump Tower, Donald Trump Jr. released what he says is the entire email chain. Now, contact was initiated by Rob Goldstone. He's a music publicist who represents a Russian pop star who knows the Trump family from the 2013 Miss Universe pageant that took place in Moscow. Then on June 3rd, 2016, Goldstone emailed Donald Trump Jr., quote, "Good morning, Emin," the Russian pop star, "just called and asked me to contact you with something very interesting. The Crown Prosecutor of Russia met with his father, Aris, this morning, and in their meeting offered to provide the Trump campaign with some official documents and information that would incriminate Hillary and her dealings with Russia and would be very useful to your father. This is obviously very high level and sensitive information, but is part of Russia and its government support for Mr. Trump, helped along by Aris and Emin. So what do you think is the best way to handle this information, and would you be able to speak to Emin about it directly? I can also send this information to your father via Rona, but it's ultra sensitive, so wanted to send to you first. Best, Bob Goldstone." About 20 minutes later, Donald Trump Jr. replied, quote, "Thanks, Bob. I appreciate it. I am on the road at the moment, but perhaps I just speak to Emin first. Seems we have some time, and if it's what you say, I love it, especially later in the summer. Could we do a call first thing next week when I am back? Best, Don." And in following emails, the two go back and forth about setting up that phone call, and then they eventually work out a time for a sit-down meeting with this Russian lawyer. Now, Donald Trump Jr. also released a statement earlier today explaining that he was releasing the emails to be transparent. He also detailed why he took the meeting. His statement reads in part, quote, "The information they suggested they had about Hillary Clinton I thought was political opposition research. I first wanted to just have a phone call, but when that didn't work out, they said the woman would be in New York and asked if I would meet. Well, I decided to take the meeting. Well, the woman, as she has said publicly, was not a government official. As we have said, she had no information to provide and wanted to talk about adoption policy and the Magnitsky Act, but to put this in context. Now, this occurred before the current Russian fever was in vogue. As Rob Goldstone said just today in the press, the entire meeting was the most inane nonsense I have ever heard, and I was actually agitated by it. In addition to all of that, the Russian lawyer at the center of this story spoke to NBC News, where she denied working for the Russian government. Take a look.
Have you ever worked for the Russian government? Do you have connections to the Russian government?
Нет.
No.
Now, NBC is also quoting the Russian lawyer saying, quote, I never had any damaging or sensitive information about Hillary Clinton. It was never my intention to have that. And in a previous statement, Donald Trump Jr. said the same thing, that the lawyer never produced solid information about Hillary Clinton. In fact, he says she didn't even really make sense when talking about Clinton. Back in January, the Politico, hardly members of the right-wing conspiracy, published this explosive report, quote, Ukrainian efforts to sabotage Trump backfire. Now, the report there lays out how a DNC operative and Ukrainian government officials tried to aid and assist Hillary Clinton and damage Donald Trump. Now, this DNC operative, who, according to Politico, used to work at the Clinton White House, well, spearheaded this entire effort, including by meeting with Ukrainian officials at the Ukrainian embassy in Washington, D.C., to discuss ways to go after former Trump campaign chairman Paul Manafort. Now, this operative even told Politico the Ukraine diplomats were, quote, helpful in tracking leads. And then there's this bombshell, quote, she occasionally shared her findings with officials from the DNC and Clinton's campaign. And on top of all of that, the operative claims that she gave guidance and off-the-record information to, quote, a lot of journalists who are writing about Paul Manafort and Donald Trump's potential ties to Russia.
Okay, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, the main thing that everybody's all up in a tizzy about is a line that said something about the Russian government wanting to help Donald Trump. That was not the exact phrasing verbatim, but, you know, that's pretty much what it was. That's what everybody's talking about. Now, when they go to the meeting, nothing was said. It was all a nothing burger. They go to the meeting and then the person want to talk about adoption and stuff like that. It was something totally different. It was a bait and switch. They thought it would be information about Hillary Clinton that could be damaging, that could substantiate some of these stories that have been flying around, some of these rumors that have been flying around about Hillary Clinton in movies like Clinton Cash, this, that, and the third. You're talking about the Uranium One deal and other things that she could be linked to. They thought it would be that, but that's not what it ended up being, right? And mind you, at this point, to put it in proper context, Donald Trump Jr. is essentially a private citizen. He may be helping Trump with the campaign, but he's not a political figure at this point. Now, let's get to the Democrat Party and what they did when you're talking about Ukraine. Politico released a story where they said that the Democrat Party colluded, if you want to use that term, colluded with the Ukrainians, right, about Donald Trump and got information about him. The difference between Trump Jr. and the DNC is that the DNC operative came straight from the Clinton White House. So they were involved with politics already, number one. Number two, they actually got information about Trump, but Trump Jr. did not get any information that was of any use about Hillary Clinton or anybody else, right? And the information that the Democrats got from the Ukrainians as it relates to Trump actually impacted the election because they got dirt on Paul Manafort and forced him to resign. There's one standard for Donald Trump and his campaign, a different one for Hillary Clinton and her campaign. If the Democrats want a dogpile on Donald Trump Jr., why is the mainstream media not bringing up the Ukrainian story? It seems like they treat the Ukrainian story as a deflection away from Russia and Trump. But really, if you want to use the same metric of outrage from one versus the other, then the Ukrainian story should be much worse because there was actually information that was received that helped Hillary Clinton, that impacted the election. But there is no such evidence. There is no such allegation, really, that the Russians did anything of the sort as it relates to Trump defeating Hillary Clinton, right? I mean, what information did he get? The only thing they want to say is WikiLeaks and stuff like that, but who knows who actually did that, right? It could have been a Russian person, just happened to be in their house in their basement. Like Trump famously said, it could have been a 400-pound guy on his bed, right? It could have been that, or it could have been a Russian actual operative from the government. But when you're talking about Democrat Party, there's evidence that they colluded directly with people in the Ukrainian government from their government. So it was much different. But even if you want to say they're the same thing, then you got to treat them the same. You can't just dogpound Donald Trump and ignore what's going on with the Democrat Party. To me, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's where we are right now. Trump has defended his son, said that he's innocent, he's transparent, and I can't really say that he's not. I think that what Trump Jr. did here was kind of shocking to some people, just to put all the emails on Twitter like that. But at the same time, I commend him for being open and honest rather than Hillary Clinton going through all these changes, having a private email server in the house, deleting a bunch of emails, scrubbing the server, making jokes about scrubbing the server, talking about, oh, When you say scrap the server, what you mean with a rag? Really stupid stuff. Trump Jr. did not do that. And I think there's no actual crime here. You got Tim Kaine talking about, oh, it's treason. And it's like, treason? What are you talking about? Did Trump Jr. sell secrets to the Russians or to the Ukrainians or to anybody else? Was there any information given from him to the Russians that would impact the U.S. in a negative way? All he did was have a meeting. You're allowed to do that. There's no law that was broken there. And if there was anything that was sensitive information, classified information, or stolen information, do you think he would not refer that to the proper authorities? You think he would just hold that to the chest? There was nothing found in the meeting. That's why there was nothing said of it up until now, right? And I think that he did a good thing by putting emails out on Twitter. So there's no back and forth. You can't, keep bringing up stuff little by little to draw the story out and then try to keep getting your ratings and then try and keep winning political points. It's all out there right now. There is no smoking gun. They on the left want to say it's a smoking gun, but there is no such thing. A smoking gun would be hardcore physical evidence that some kind of information was passed between one party and the other, but there is no such thing. All you have is an email chain that says, hey, let's have the meeting. But after the meeting, what happened? There's no evidence that anything incriminating was found. But we do have stories out there that say that the Ukrainians were able to actually give incriminating information to the Democratic Party, which actually impacted the election because you had Paul Manafort that got fired, right? So that actually happened, but there's no such evidence the other way around. So I think at the end of the day, Donald Trump Jr. is not going to face any kind of criminal charges. I mean, come on, what would the actual charges be? It's sedition? No. He's not encouraging any kind of violence or anything like that. Would it be treason? No. What did he sell secrets? Did he sell intelligence? Did he somehow snitch on somebody that he shouldn't have snitched on that's in the federal government? Did he do anything like that? All he did was have a meeting. That's allowed to happen. You're allowed to do that. So at the end of the day, I think it's a whole big nothing burger, just like Van Jones famously said. And there's nothing to see here. So what do you think? Do you think Donald Trump Jr. was dumb as it relates to the whole Twitter thing and releasing all the emails at once? Do you think it was a smart move so they can't try to say, oh, we have dirt on you? They try to blackmail them, this, that, and the third. No, everything is out there. There's no second guessing. Everything is around the table. So if you have any questions, your questions will be answered. Do you think that it would have been more intelligent for him to reveal what happened right when it happened? Now, that's kind of like hindsight being 2020, right? Because at the end of the day, the whole Russia thing did not blow up until after the meeting had happened, probably 2 or 3 months later, when the mainstream media decided to make it be a whole big story on the behest of the Democrat Party, in my humble opinion, because there's been no smoking gun ever since that time, ever since the whole Russia frenzy has begun. There's been no smoking gun. There's been no evidence. They want to say they have evidence now because they're reaching for straws. They keep trying to drag out the story. Do you think that Donald Trump Jr. could have handled himself better in the video? I'll place the actual full video in the description box below so you're able to see it. Do you think that his demeanor was right? Was it off? Was it good? Whatever your comments are, let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.